Hey VCers, it's Matt checking in. Thought I would continue with my Kinks reviews, and before we do that, I just wanted to do a quick little update on my Name Your Favorite Openings of Song contest, which will end midnight day after tomorrow. At the end of the month, I'll draw the winner on probably on Monday. So I've got, so far as I know, I've got 8 entries into that contest. They are Adam Lee, Mean Mr. Mayo, Robert Z, Steffi Vaughn, Bobby Gass, Karsten Olson, Mr. Hall of Fame Brandon, and Andy Hall. So anybody else out there that wants to do an entry in that, you still have about 48 hours roughly to get one in, and you just name your favorite, or name and or play your favorite song openings, snippets of the beginnings of the songs, first few seconds of a song, and some other stuff. And so look back on my videos if you're interested. That has all the what and wherefore on that contest. But 2 days left roughly to get an entry in and to win the prize. So join in if you want. And also the challenge, it's not a contest or anything, but the challenge of naming your favorite artists and bands of each decade is still ongoing, and of course there's no deadline on that, but make a video for that, have some fun. So the Kinks reviews continues with Sleepwalker, their 1977 album. Picked this one up a while back. Has the shrink on it still, but somebody cut out, I guess there was a hype sticker there and they cut it out. There's the front, that's Ray Davies with makeup on, and there's the back with the song listing. The inner sleeve has a picture of the band on one side, and this just has information. There's no lyrics, it's just who's in the band and who produced and engineered the record, etc. So makes a couple of changes for the Kinks this time around. First off, they change labels again for the third time. They go from RCA to Arista, or Arista. Arista is what I always say. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. So they're on Arista Records. This is their first album for that label. It's also, blessedly so, that the album before this, Schoolboys in Disgrace, was the final and last of the concept rock opera albums, and None Too Soon. From this point forward until they break up, they will just make albums of songs again, which is the way it should be most of the time. They did make a couple of the best concept rock opera, whatever you want to call them, albums of all time in the 60s with Village Green and Arthur. Lola wasn't half bad either. The rest of them weren't so great, the ones they did in the 70s, and it's nice to see Ray finally got that out of his system and just goes back to making collection of songs for an album. So that's some of the changes that went on. The bad news, though, is that the 2 albums that came out before this, 1974's Soap Opera and 1975's Schoolboys in Disgrace, I actually like quite a bit more than I like this album. This album is not, well, there's just not much anything here, I'm afraid, sad to report. I've listened to this several times. I had bought this and had not heard this, with the exception of a couple of songs I'd heard before, but the rest of it was new to me. And I've listened to this album multiple times over the last few days, and while musically it's good, this is sort of the beginning of what a lot of people call the Kinks arena rock phase, which they would get big and popular here a few albums down the road again, like they were in the very early 60s. This is sort of the beginnings of that. This is not as good as those albums that'll come here starting in 79, 80, in the early 80s. It's not a dog, it's not a terrible album, it's just not a much anything much album. And the songs are pleasant enough, the music is pleasant enough, it's kind of arena rocky without having anything too memorable. And I listened to this, like I said, several times, and there's Sleepwalker, the title song, Sounds a little bit like Go On, Take the Money and Run by the Steve Miller Band. It's a good song. It's probably the best on the album. Stormy Sky on side 2. It's a pretty good song. The first song, Life on the Road, is pleasant enough. And last song on side 1, Brother, kind of a ballad type thing. It's okay. And that's about as excited as I can get about. That's about as excited as I can get on the subject of this album. Sleepwalker's a good song, and it's not great, but it's the best of the bunch. And maybe Stormy Sky second, and a couple of good ones otherwise. The rest is, it's just there, and it's not really. This album doesn't excite me much, so well, it's not terrible. Scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to be kind and give it a 5. Things are starting to get better, or not so much on the basis of this, but after this, things will start to get better. So yeah, Sleepwalker, 1977 Kinks album, their first album on a new label, their third after having been on Reprise and then RCA, and now they're on Arista, however you say that. Yeah, it's okay. It's just there's nothing much to sink your teeth into on this album, and none of the songs really stick out or are that memorable. Schoolboys in Disgrace was not their best album by any means, but it was a lot better than this one. So I don't know. I give it a 5. Which is pleasant. Round about that time, though, there are some. If you get the CD of Sleepwalker, there are some songs on the CD that are bonus tracks that weren't on the album that were 45s, B-sides, and so forth. And in '77, they released one of them is called Prince of the Punks, which was on the B-side of the 45 I'm about to talk about. That is on a live version on the live album One for the Road that comes out in 1980. It's where I first heard it. But the A-side of Prince of the Punks was Father Christmas, even though here it's got Rock and Roll Fantasies. Not was the B-side was Prince of the Punks. Anyway, Father Christmas by the Kinks, 1977 holiday Christmas song. And this is one of my absolute favorite Kinks songs. It's up there with, I'd say it's probably their best song of the 70s. One of my favorite holiday and Christmas songs. It's some little hoodlum kids that beat up a department store Santa Claus and tell them they need money and he needs to give their dads jobs and send all your presents to the little rich boys and give us money and jobs and food and electricity and all that. Great rock and roll guitar number with some sleigh bells to keep it all Christmassy sounding, and it's a brilliant, one of the best Christmas songs ever. And so how they came out with something this good, which was one of their few truly great songs of the 70s, at the same time they put this album out, which is just kind of wishy-washy and not much you can say about it. I don't know, but Father Christmas, this is my copy. I don't have the 45, but this is a promotional copy. So the Father Christmas side, just keep it sent out to radio stations, and I've had that for quite a while. So that Father Christmas, I would give a 10 on that song. It is not on the album Sleepwalker. Sleepwalker, I give a 5. So I still need to do my decade by decade entry. I need to get all my records together to show them, and I've just been meaning to and haven't had time. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Enter the song beginnings contest. You still got a couple of days. Enter your own on the decade, naming the decade things challenge. And yeah, more Kinks albums to come. We've still got quite a few to go through, and we'll see you next time.